Hello, good evening, everybody. 다시 들려. Okay. Good evening, everyone, to all our participants. So today is another session of the creation and completion. So as usual, we will start with the refuge and the mandala all together. O sanje nam zogen chonam lai chanchun bando danen jasu che dagi jenzu ngebe sonam ge rola penje sanjen doga jo sanje nam zogen chonam lai chanchun bando danen jasu che dagi jenzu ngebe sonam ge rola penje sanjen doga jo sanje nam zogen chonam lai chanchun bando danen jasu che dagi jenzu ngebe sonam ge rola penje sanjen doga jo Samje namje dewa tang dewe judan temran junjin dongan tang dongan ke jawan juj dongan me ben dewa tang ba tang min jawan juje niren jadan yedan jue tang nyum chenpo la nebran junje samje tamje dewa tang dewe judan temran juj dongan tang dongan ke judan jawan juj dongan me ben dewa tang ba tang min jawan juje niren jadan yedan jue tang nyum chenpo la nebran juje samje tamje dewa tang dewe judan temran juj 동아 당 동아의 견주난 저런 주진 동아의 매변 대와 담바다 면저 원주시 예란자다 예단주 당념진 보라 내버런 주인지 장자와 단 주진 샤와 당 제소예랑 회신소와의 개와 중선다게 제자고 담제다게 장주 전부로 사진베지 중심에도 점을些也得关的上界选的每天不外言，如果能到新兰绝本书，反正这位老马人不见，大概就了片面点说了。个人先别观念接送的，过送都给我这赞助，送都是讲的，完全没嘛中，小娃这个没这个了，全部没就上网去说，再觉得没小了，强制对，确实就是就新给老的说。So where we left off last time was 272. Am I correct, Lamala? Yeah? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So did I stop at the beginning of 272 or at the end of the 272? Not really sure. Beginning? At the end? Okay. So, so I will just go back a little bit, from the 272. 지금 이제 퇴직을 거죠. 망고 초제 전에 상관도. 전에 원치 만족에 대서 매장랑서 진주유. When you're alone, have a continuation of oneself, as in practitioner, basically a mindfulness. Rang means yourself, a mindfulness of yourself. Mangbo chose tenrik sangar de, and then when you are along with other people or other participants or with the sanghas, let's put it like this, and then have a sense of strength in your mindfulness, a little bit more strength and mindfulness combined together. And by that continuation and good balance, and then it will have some sort of a result over the time. And because, when we call ourselves a practitioner, we often say that, oh, now I'm doing a retreat, now I'm doing a session, now I finished the session, then we put our guard down, so then we say, I'm not in the session, now I justify my distraction, I justify my engagement, I justify my laziness and all of these things. So, but at the same time, these are not the qualities that you need to implement. These are not the principles that you have to add right away. It tend to happen over the time. Like an example, in the beginning, everything starts with a very strict schedule, a routine or schedule in the beginning. That's how it starts. And then over the time, when you are more adjust with the routine, when the routine becomes your new ordinary reality, as a practitioner, as a retreatant, and then this mindfulness, awareness and the mindfulness combined together when you're alone as a practitioner, and then when you are engaged with others or other activities, and more strength within your mindfulness has to be implemented. It doesn't have a particular visualization or particular result, but it has a benefit in the long run. That's what it's saying. Reton yembe chunzen chunzeka reton yembe chunzen chunzeka kayango nangwa shete dangi nanda tosun naso cheshen koye namjunye dulzame tume ade yonge mengale semdan regbe shenji chesomba temba wese rangwa mezimba nyokbe chayun junin chokesem shebe yume wese rangoton dangsha marme 단니 치마데 와타다베 유네 람람바 차세 ngoeso 신이시기 레벤주던 게면로 치소 베톤도 좀 베톤 동게 많이 남아이 시안에 주베 담아니 닝탄 this 나 담냥 같이 소라 메던바 마게 소마차라 하마유 and then such, basically, I just want to make a quick summary. Such talk of emptiness, or such talk of emptiness and about the, okay, okay, so that's where we have reached. 주님 마주 발라 따두니 또리미고 포징 점바이 초세까지 고메샹에서 뭐 공백가마 렌든나 나지 노야 오마랑신도 세발라서 페인젤레데 랑와시나 지시군들이 로톱 총세 때문에 전가나 게림 소라 텐제 랑감데. And then now he's talking about the importance of the creation and the completion itself. I mean, of course, the title of the text is a creation and completion, but he's now is being more precise about the impact of the creation and completion as in practice. All of us, we have some sort of a negativities. So therefore, we must utilize the Dharma in practice to the point where we do our the breathing exercise, and then the tumo exercise, so that we can so that once we purify the air, and then the air goes into the central channel, and then it has an immense benefit. And due to that, recognition to the nature of the mind is imminent, and as well as it has a benefit in beyond explanation. And then on the top of that is by recognizing one, you recognize everything. So I think maybe some of you might not know what is meaning of, like the air. So in this book, this is not a published book, but you see, this Uma is basically means this. So you see this one. I'll show you. Can you see? There you go. You see? Now this one is Uma, right? This is the central channel. Central channel and the right channel, and then the left channel. And then there's a chakra, chakra with the different branches. Chakra with the 64 branches, and 32 branches, 8 branches, and so on. Some of them are straight, some of them are facing down, some of them are facing up, depending into a different kind of a deity practice. You see, right? So why I'm showing you this is because, like an example, in this particular Niguma yoga practice, we visualize the branches of the channel facing down, the 8 channel facing down, the 64 channel, facing up, and then like the 32 channel, facing up and facing down and so on. And that's not really important. And then some of the, like an example, when we do chakra sambhara practice, and then the channel, we visualize 8 channels straight, and the one and the second channel facing, a little bit like an umbrella facing each other. And then the lower channel just like that, facing up, or, things like that. The reason why I'm saying this to you is because it's related to the Niguma yoga, and it's something that's good to know, because in the future, like an example, in Brazil, we will do the Niguma yoga, like I said last time. And then also in Italy, we will do the Niguma yoga, hopefully soon, within a few months, and when we make the program. When we breathe 21,000. Scientifically, they say 22,000, in and out. in like normal breath, by the way. Like if you do nothing, breathing pace. And then within that 21,000 or 22,000, whatever you call it, there's a negative air and then there's a positive air. So all the negative air, the majority are negative air, and the minority is a positive air. Negative air is it's not really as in bad, like, because when we think about negative, we immediately in our mind we say something bad, so in this level of negativity, it's not necessarily bad. It is just a simply absent of clarity is just described as negative. It's not necessarily harmful. So it's just the existence that is absent from the state of clarity is identified as negative. So that's something we just have to understand, so that we don't carry it away in our mind. Oh, I breathe so much negative, Otherwise, we will have so much burden in our mind. So what we do is that, when we do the yoga, we untie all the channel, all the chakras, untie and strengthen our chakras and the channel that is within our body. And then using the true channel that is next to the central channel, the central channel color description is four thing. It has a four thing to describe the central channel. One is transparent, and second is transparent, red, and then thin and straight. So that is the description of the central channel. And just like that, the right channel and the left channel, that is aligned with the central channel. So the left channel and the right channel, mainly the purpose is that breathing in, generating the air and the heat, and then basically doing yoga again and again, so that we can purify our negative air and transform into a positive air. Not necessarily moving directly into, not necessarily changing right away 21,000 or 22,000, all the negative air, but at least several of them, over the time that you can transform it into a positive air. So what happens during the positive air, the definition of the positive air is that you are more likely to be calm around that time. You are more likely to be kind. You are more likely to be relaxed around that time. But our mind and our mind is so distracted that we don't notice nothing at all. So that's it. So it's something that you should know about it, and there's nothing mystical. It's just, you put the dedication and your determination, and then the result can be seen by yourself. So simple as that. You don't have to say, I'm not the, incarnation of my previous life and I'm completely new, and, you don't have to tell yourself that. And then now here it comes the similarity between Taranatha teaching and Jangwa Control Thai teaching is just mixed between the categories. He said that teme means try to meditate your mind, try to focus your mind based on the non-existence place. Tenme means, like no destination, no object, in the sense that like you are visualizing something or looking forward into, right? So tenme chong la chingri English way. Like an example, looking into the space, looking into the sea, that is seen as a non-destination, and just simply gazing and looking towards and meditating your mind. Tsawa sela tembe sel dabja, tsawa sela tembe sel dabja, teze rekton tawe mebrachar, and then due to that sort of meditation, uh, the great, profound experience of emptiness and the great sensation of knowing will emerge. Rik means a great sensation, of knowing. Basically, the witnessing the emptiness. Tawi mabashar means immense or profound. Tony shine longma tension poro. Nordo song tango Tony ni. Yume kenga tashi tandre. Make some gender recton young sir. Shine namto sumara shine. Tawi mabashar kajala. Kajaba. Love and Trevenjas shinduni. Longma ten. Tere shenyamne. Jua traman jesu transede. Tere levde chide. Jedahon. Tabul söyledi, çuva meyvada. Tabul meyve levde tonduda. Nyamşa gazı. Noma temcana. So nyamşa gazı. Noma temcana. Tela dönüşe teri demçaki. Natom cona longro savata. Deju keto yogu sogesel. So, like an example, here is another method, and that Jamgu is saying. Nyamsha means like when you are meditating, and if you start to have some sort of a disturbance, lungmaten means like some sort of disturbance, and then if you start to have a blurry thoughts or some sort of distraction, and try to have some sort of strong determination all of a sudden in your mind, and then if you and if you are having a very sleepy mood or sleepy sensation or heavy head, and then try to do a breathing exercise through your nose, through your nose. And then, or you can also do a Deju Keto Yoga Sogi, so, or chanting a mantra a little bit loudly and so on. So, Shedan Topa Lamlam Charvese, and Jembara Tashi, Zeme Shapana, Penum Baranse Teruyel, Shedan Topa Lamlam Charvese. So now here is the anger management teaching. So it says, Shedan Topa Lamlam Charvese, when the anger arises, when the anger arises, lam lam means about to be risen. There's a very big difference between, fully risen and then fully concluded, whatever that may be, right? You throw your stuff and break the glass and, whatever that may be. That's the third one, which we all professional about it, Then what he's discussing is the first one. So there's a first one, second one, and the third one. So like the first is reflection, when you see the reflection. The second is when you are completely influenced by that thought. The third is when you're concluded by that action. That's something that we all know. We don't have to discuss about that. We all fight with our parents, our colleague, and family members, and everything. We all know that. We are very professional about it. So, so here, what he's describing is that, like I said before, in order to understand the anger, you have to understand the aggression. You cannot understand the anger without understanding the aggression. And then you cannot understand the aggression without understanding the sensation of the anger, or the projection, the birth of some sort of discomfort in your mind, So you need to have some sort of a very clear mindset already. You cannot be, drunk and fully anxious and say, oh, I want to challenge and overcome my anger. It doesn't work like that. So Shedan Tokpa Lam Lam Charvise, the Lam Lam means like a kind of a blurry reflection. That's a description. So when the anger is about to be risen, and Jemba Tashing. Now the next one is very important. Jemba Tashing. Jemba Tashing means look and witness with your naked eye. Jemba Tashing, Zeme Shabana. Zeme Shabana, it means don't add anything. Like an example, if you are Brazilian, you say, when you have the cachaça, then don't add the sugar, don't add the lemon, don't add the sugar, just keep the cachaça as a cachaça, or like an Italian, you make a pizza and then just a pizza, and the salami, you don't put pineapple on the top of that, that's a very insult to the Italian culture, so like an example, like a German, their sausage is the real sausage, not the American sausage, that's an insult to the German culture, saying that's the sausage, anyway, I'm just trying to, make you smile a little bit. Jemba Tashing means with the naked eye. Tashing means look with your naked eye. Zeme Shalpana means without adding anything and keep it genuine. See it genuine and keep it genuine. Penne Mebar, Ransa Deruyel, Penne Mebar, it doesn't have a positive effect. It doesn't have a negative effect, and it will disappear by itself instantly, or by itself. So Shedam Toba Lamnam Charis. So that's very important is that it's not a method when the anger is fully risen. It's a method that anger is about to be risen. And so the conclusion is that our mind has to be sharp enough to notice that, which we don't have. So yeah, you cannot manage anything without the clarity in your mind or the sharpness in your mind. So you need to develop that. And then the anger can be handled over the time with this method. Shedam Topa Lamlam Charvitse, Jembatashi Zume Shapana, Penemeba Ransa Teruyel. So like somebody criticize you that you are terrible, you're not good, you're terrible, you're not good. And then when this sensation of discomfort, there's aggression and anger, so when you have the sensation of discomfort, and then you look right at the discomfort, you look right at it without any opinion of good or bad, just simply look at the very sensation of discomfort. And that, because the anger never existed in the first place, that's why it dissolves. The anger is a projection of our mind and the reflection of our ego. That's why it can be dissolved. So, that's the method I use, for myself. So this is a natural wisdom. This is the organic wisdom. When you have this, and then you have the organic wisdom. If you understand the origin and the essence, you can recognize the pure wisdom in it. Or you can transform it, basically. You can transform it into a into a non-duality state. Number because when the anger is dissolved, as you're witnessing with your clarity of your mind, as the anger never existed, you have the idea of the anger that existed. The moment you realize that how does the anger never existed, but without any negative or positive opinion, when you break through this illusion, then you see the real emptiness. You understand? Because shedan, yelje. Shedan means anger. Yelje means disappearance. Tong means emptiness. Dang means radiance of emptiness. Chul migu, chul means like search. Migu means no need. You know, so when that's why I said it can be transformed. Not that the anger is good. Okay, anger can be transformed based on the clarity of your mind, because when the anger is arisen, about to be risen, you look with your naked eye, with your naked mind, without any judgment, and with a very pure state of mind and a very clear consciousness mind. And as you see no anger in the terms of true existence, and then you go through that illusion, passing by the illusion, and then you recognize the clarity or the emptiness and so on. You know. So this is a possibility for some practitioner over the time, not instantly. You know, so yeah. Tongshi mingme tela songjuk ser dorje semba sojan deshin no nyumon decha solan ringje sal. And then just like any other emotion, just try to copy that, you know, to others. So you can copy that to others. Like an example, when you have a strong attachment, and then you look at the attachment, you look at the desire, you look at the essence of the desire, you know, try to go stage by stage, you know. Don't try to paint a picture like this is black and this is white, you know. Like an example, when we are children, you know, we say, this is good man, this is bad man, you know. And as we grow older, you know, we say, everybody more or less the same. There's good people, there's some bad people, yeah. But everybody is going through a difficult time, you know. So we kind of accept that, you know, that the reality. You know, so what I'm trying to say is that we have to examine the emotion like that, you know, not just saying this emotion is good and not just saying that emotion is bad, but identifying each emotion and divide it by 3. 1, rigid; second level, less rigid, more subtle; third level, more subtle. That's how I do it. It seems to be working for me. You know, so you always divide into 3: rigid, semi-rigid and subtle, and the third one more subtle. So your analytical mindset has to go through that one step at a time. You know, then you reach a clear conclusion. You know, otherwise you are in the state of denial. You know, like then you start to say anger is bad. You know, then you know you are projecting the idea of anger much more bigger than it is, which is also becomes a problem when it does emerge again. So yeah. What is it? Oh, okay. Okay, so where did I? Nyomon Decha. Yeah, so just to repeat one more time, so you divide into three. First, you investigate with the more rigid, and then the second with the subtle rigid, and the third with the more subtle. So, like I explained before, but you also need to have a foundation as a sense of sharpness of your mind and the clarity of your mind. So once you have some sort of accumulated based on the meditation or any sort of a mind training, when you have this kind of a subtle mind, then you have a more potential to recognize these things, So to potential to recognize the subtleness of the essence of your anger, the essence of your attachment, essence of the jealousy, essence of any sort of emotional difficulties. So what you do is that once you have accumulated enough strength in your mind or a sense of clarity, and then, like I said before, you see the anger as it is, and then over the time you see the anger, the essence of the anger, aggression. The essence of the aggression comes down to the ill content, not fulfilled state of mind. And the not fulfilled state of mind is due to the state of ignorance. So you can go to the fourth stage or you can go to the three stage, but not just using your mind, but rather you're analyzing and stopping, you're analyzing and you're stopping, you're analyzing and you're stopping at the same time. You're not just trying to you're not trying to use your brain in too much. You're using your brain, but your mind with analyzing and meditating and finding a sense of clarity with your own analytical understanding, and then moving to the next, moving to the next, moving to the next, and so on. So that's how you do it in the beginning. If you have accumulated some sort of practice, and then over the time, then like Jamgu Kondru, what he said, what he said, when the anger is subtly existed, in that very moment, you just gaze with the naked eye without any opinion, and that anger dissolves, right? So that can be implemented afterwards. Like the capacity to transform any sort of emotion into the state of emptiness. That is a later stage. It sounds similar, but it's not the same. It sounds very similar, but it's not the same. Yeah. Okay. Yanda döla gomja gomjime temba chigo chona nyamlense. Okay, so now moving to the new chapter. Yanda döla. Ultimately, in the ultimate purpose, ultimate meaning, gomja gomjime, there is no meditation because it is a non-meditation. Temba chigo chona nyamlense. Simply in the continuity of a state of knowing is a supreme practice. Nyamlense means supreme practice. Tarto tenla temba nijame. And then over the time, that temba nijame, the sensation of knowing also is no longer important. Tenshi yingsu tase ishiju, because you become one. I don't know what that means. Let's not try to discover that. Okay. Pushing says it. Meya yawashi. Pushing says it. Meya yawashi. Truba says it. Nimbo nijashi. Okay, so what he's trying to say is that in English, I don't know how to say that. There's a there's a distinction between the state of knowing and mindfulness. That's what he's trying to say. The state of knowing is like when you recognize the nature of the mind, you have the clarity, you have the emptiness, you have the state of knowing, right? So that's distinctive to mindfulness. Like mindful of what you're teaching, mindful of what you are learning, mindful of what you're practicing, really a sense of awareness, a mindful awareness. And then there's a clear state of knowing, which is much more subtle, So this, what he's trying to say is, what he's saying is that when you practice continuously with the mindfulness over the time and over the time, and that is the supreme practice. And ultimately, even the mindfulness becomes unnecessary. Let's put it like this. It becomes unnecessary because you have the state of knowing inseparably together in this nature of the state of mind, So therefore, he's saying that Truba Setse Nyembo Nijangshi. Truba Setse means once the illusion is disintegrated, your mindfulness also dissolves. Because there's nothing to mindful about when the illusion disintegrates. Like an example, when you know the tricks of the magician, then it's no longer magic, then it's a trick. So it's a little bit like that. Dene Papanam Gichula, and Dene Papanam Gichula means, how to say, this is the method and the practice of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Papa means supreme beings. And Jula, Gomba Mayin, Gomba Yang. Okay, so now it's coming to the next sentence here. Gomba Mayin, Megumpaya Min. So this sentence is very, very beautiful, but at the same time, it's beyond, a little bit beyond my description. Gomba Mayin, Megumpaya Min. It's not a meditation, but it's also an, okay. Gomba Mayin. It's not a meditation, neither the non-meditation. I think if I'm there, I think I would say, let's have some whiskey a little bit. I think that's better. We stop writing at the moment for tonight. Yeah, I don't drink, by the way. I just making a joke. Gomba Mayin. It's not now we are entering to the new chapter, okay? Gomba Mayin means it's not a meditation, neither a non-meditation. That's the sentence. Because Gomba Minte Kayame Gomba Mente Mikte Kayame. Because it's not a Megum Mente Yengsutan. Okay. Okay, I have to keep my mind straight here. Gomba Mende Mikte Kayame. Because it is a non-meditation, the reason why he describes a non-meditation, because your mind is not concentrating your mind is not concentrating into any sort of object, so therefore it is a non-meditation. And you also cannot say migum mente. You also cannot say it is not a non-meditation, because your mind is still very much present and it is not chaotic. Chunyi means the nature of mind. Chunyi rango shesam tetojo. Chunyi rango shesam tetojo. You simply notice the nature of the mind and then simply stay on that. 대토족 means just stay on that. Chunye rango, shezam. There's a difference between, I think I said this before, I'm not really sure. There's a difference between recognizing, the idea of recognizing, and the meaning of noticing. When you say recognizing, like an example, you're telling me how to describe this person, or how do you see this person, or what is the height of this person, what is the color of this person, what is the shape of this mountain, then I have to say, I recognize this mountain, I recognize this person, I recognize this deity, I recognize this object, I recognize this shrine. So it has a very strong sensation of, deep in that thought, it has a very strong sensation of I acknowledging it, I recognizing that, I holding into that idea of what I'm seeing. There's some sort of rigidness within that. So when you become a practitioner over the time, you will start to understand what is the meaning of noticing it. So when you're noticing it, you have absolutely no attachment, you have absolutely no expectation, no attachment, no strong opinion, just simply subtle bond, subtle level of sense of bond, a connection, let's say, subtle connection. That's how to describe subtle connection. Subtle connection. That's Moshe. Mo means face. She means recognizing. Zam means simply noticing the face. Tetojo means stay on the top. Stay on that course. In that state of the consciousness, in that state of mind, or in that state, there's no idea of this and that, and like a busy thought that we all have. And this is ultimate. Lo de means beyond the duality. Lo means mind, de means beyond the conceptual idea of the mind. Migme yimbeso, and without any visualization. Namdo yuldan jalje manchena machu se yang truba dometu. Namdo yuldan jalje manchena machu se yang truba dometu. Taken round tayo chishipe rangsha round se yinzi nyembo mena rangsha round. Okay, yeah. Seeing the state of the consciousness and the liberation at the same time. Rangshar Rangjo. But if you have a very strong idea that this is what I'm seeing, this is what I am recognizing, if you have that, it's still you are not liberated, because you have a very strong opinion of Yinzin. Yinzin means I, recognizing. I, in a sense of self-fixation. Recognizing means external object, idea of the external object. Yinzin, right? Yinzin. That's the subtle level of fixation. So if you overcome that, then it is called a recognition and the true liberation. So we need to develop with a sense of mindfulness, and then over the time awareness and the subtle recognition, and then over the time we need to maintain that, And then over the time, even that subtle fixation tend to dissolve. So then it's called some sort of liberation. Let's put it like that. So here comes another chapter. Rangi semyi mala nawaku chula chubun doshin shambale nawa shaya ime roshena nansem mabu teje telacha. Our state of the consciousness and ourself is like a mother and the son, like or chule chubun doshin shambale. Chule chubun doshin shambale. Like an example, the bubble arises from the water and then dissolves into the water. And then once we understand that the projector and the projection is one, and then once you recognize that, and once you see that, nansem mabuteji telaja, and that is the meeting of the son and the mother. Korde sangen toda matopun, pangla mini yeton yezoju, tagon jeba tamji teladu, songje tamsik namjan teladu, dube, teche joshe ade yoga le, mixon sonwe tamsik sheso, okay. Korde sangen toda matopun, pangla mini yezoju. So when you have this kind of a realization and understanding, a true realization, not just some sort of idea of realization, and all the idea of our so-called society, and then our perception of the society, and who praises you and who criticizes you, and what are the things to accept and what are the things to reject, and all of these things tend to dissolve over the time. Sonje tamsik namjan tel dube 대신 조시 아데 요가래 메손손에 tamsik 시송바 송삼 매버 매비 tamsik라 송단 젠바저 차바이 탐제 센슨 조고 찍고데 다음에 되는 조고 생기죠 주심 제비 공부 타고. And then when you have this kind of a realization state of mind, and then basically whatever the lifestyle you may have, it really doesn't matter at that point. And that sounds kind of fun. You don't have to follow any rules, you're free to roam and do whatever you want. But the problem is that the real problem is that by that time you will not do anything. That's the problem. Yeah. So now we are entering to a new chapter. Toring yese tujam melamla tokchö laso namto suke kun meche nyamne sade tembe nga shaze tenye regwe dani che pangla meche chola migwe dang me pada nyamo mawa shi dishin zonna nyetong chashinbe. So now here comes the our actual method. Pang means abandoning things, abandoning the negativity. Lang means accepting the positivity. If we don't have the idea of what are the things to ignore and what are the things to accept, and then if we don't have a genuine respect to the Dharma, and then the mindfulness won't be there, awareness of the state of mind won't be there, and then all the emotion will be risen up fully. And then if these four things are aligned together, and many negative things will come, in unstoppable force. Number one is, what are the things to reject and accept, right? And then that's one or two. Chola migu means not having the genuine respect to the Dharma. That's second. And Pamepada means absolutely not having a how do I say, awareness of the mind or the mindfulness. And and then having a lot of projection of thoughts. That's the fourth. So if this four align or combine together, and then many negative things are bound to come. This Dishin zomna nyetong charshin bab. Charshin bab means like a rain. Tongwa jungwen gwenshi chepanda, tenshe pawe nida manjana, nyumon namja ishi chempuju. And then if you have a constant awareness or the mindfulness, ten means, what do I say, the mind. She means knowing your mind, knowing your mind. If you have the continuation of knowing your mind, if you're inseparable from that, even the negative emotions can be transformed into a positivity. And then, of course, obviously, all the others can be transformed into a positive as well. Lamkun Nigun Temple Latu Yu, Lamkun Nigun Temple Latu Yu, Temba, Mena, Lamke, Kem Midembe, Yemba Zamge, Pento Chiame, Teka Tegin Dushit Singer, Jelamkun La Payo Tempane, Tuani than German Robota. So here comes the most important thing, and also there's a second thing I need to explain to you. Some of this method can be used only as an advanced practitioner, even it sounds very simple, because it can be very challenging. Like an example, a constant awareness, constant mindfulness, that's impossible for ordinary people who has to look after family, who have to go to work, and who has to argue, who has to compete. Constant awareness is impossible. So just do whatever you need to do, but keep your honesty to the Dharma when you're practicing it. When you're sitting in your shrine or in a meditation place, keep your honesty and sense of genuine. Keep that pure as much as you can. And then the rest of the day, just carry on as yourself. Be angry sometimes, be upset sometimes, it's fine. But when you're practicing, be honest and be genuine to oneself. So then the genuine positivity influence will come to your life by itself. These few steps which I explained. So now I'm going to the second point. These few things that I have explained, few things are, sounds quite simple, but it takes really a lot of time. Like an example, I have read this text, around the second year of my retreat, and I understood a little bit only. But as you continue to practice, then you understand more. I understand more, not because I'm smart and I'm intelligent, nothing like that. I understand more because I'm in one place every day, the same routine every time. So I have more space in my mind, I have more space in my lifestyle to implement these things, So there's a certain things you have to consider to implement afterwards, not right away, even if it sounds easy. Some of them can be used, but nothing is blocking you from trying, okay? But just be responsible of your own practice. Okay, where did I reach? Nyumon namja ishimujу, shingen gewa jomejу, tempa mena lamke metembe, So if you don't have the mindfulness and awareness, and then of course, you forget the path, and then just having some sort of mindfulness in your mind is also not enough. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying that you cannot implement that in your ordinary life. It's impossible almost in the beginning. So just by knowing the idea of mindfulness is not enough. Take it, whatever the negative or positive may be, you have to recognize and acknowledge on the point, on the spot, on the spot, on the spot. So if you have a mindfulness, and then it's like being the friend of the Buddha or something like that. Okay, so now moving to the new chapter. Okay. Zatong oma hongi dusejang. So when you are eating food, when you're eating food, and then just try to do om ah hong, om ah hong, om ah hong. Try to recite that 3 times. Dusejang. Doi kondo koncho dembani. Doi kondo koncho jedembe. Doi signi jedu kanong. So just do om ah hong, om ah hong, om ah hong. Remembrance of the 3 jewels. Whatever the sutra you can mention, whether it's a long sutra or short sutra, doesn't matter, really up to you. You visualize yourself as a deity, and you visualize something in your heart. And then try to just simply think that there's 108 deities, the wrathful and the peaceful appearance of deities. And all of them inseparable as to your guru. And all the, how do I say that, the hair, all the basically all the single part of your body, like the hair, is, think of all the dakas and dakinis, kandoso, tegon kachishindu, shumela, and then all of them very distinctively separated, but very clear in its own image, and visualize all of them. Basically, try to think that there's a deities all around you. Tegon kachishindu, shumela, janga sheshin, chase mebachar, Zaton and then if you make an offering to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattva like that, and then it becomes a top offering by itself, naturally. Okay, so I will read 1 or 2 more chapters. Then we will leave it for question and answer. Yujimeda Saje Dungawa, Nyangde Chunam Shiwa Tombani, and Deshi Tawakada Chajala, Zamla Torma Tremor Chambo Dang, and Joge Koramala Chujinte. 시대적으로 가다 찾아라 다주 찾아제 제본된제나 제wen제주 임 메젠데 공개 너무 많이 되겠어. So there's other practice that you have to do, but but try to do a little bit of like offering to Zambala, Torma offering. Try to make some Zambala offering and other practice, but just focus on the Zambala. Yeah. And like some sur, sur is like a you burn a little bit of maybe Lamas and Christine, they know how to explain to you. Sur is basically, you put some little bit of powder, like a oat powder, and then you put some cloth and some incense, and then you burn them all together, like in a small portion. Make a little bit of smoke, and then you dedicate to all the sentient beings, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattva, and to all the sentient beings. That's the easiest way, because all the chutor, it's difficult because then people have to read the text and all the 7 bowls, every morning it can be challenging. So just try to do the Zambala offering, and then, if you can, but if you can't, just make the Sur offering once in a week or once in a month or things like that. Begam gombo uji namtar kajen tembo so that so begel hakar tuji chemboyi deba yiru nila beberso, and then making a prayer to Guru Rinpoche nawalogit shora yeshe rangshen dreve nesabni sunzen lonam rangshi tabichir bezel meba barge longjor kan china yeshe chawe goyinchir atishage zachen namkache kansha temen ngandu drevechir Ransom Yingbo Hongi, my Yigi Hong Latte, Nemi Nigi Kebateson, Dandena, Kawa Meba de Menjasashi, Shiyan, Nam Nanga, Lama Tabese, Longrosami, Junen Jubason, Honga Jar, Nyajik Jasota. Like an example, when you wake up in the morning, try to breathe out through your nose 3 times, and then try to recite Hong Ah Om, Hong Ah Om, Hong Ah Om 21 times or 100 times, to have a sense of awareness in your mind. And then, Yimbar Lunam Teshi Yimbar Mu, Nyakar Junjo Nesum Dusumja. And then when you're about to sleep, try to visualize Om Ah Hong in your crown, speech, and to your heart. Tsenge Onam Teshin Yimbar Mu. Then in Yitichik Don Tujelo, Ngaju Kawa Meba, Hanyim Tem. And then try to do some kind of a breathing, keeping the air as a vast exercise. That's not important at the moment. Ngaju Kawa Meba, Hanyen Tem. Chögi Jabba, Nyame Taboyi, Owa Tone, Janju Chonsere, Zonshi Yede Samo Messenger, Kausu Lamar sold up 2 years. And then whenever you do like a Gambopa practice or any sort of Guru Yoga practice, and try to combine between the Guru Yoga, Guru itself, and in your state of mind, combine together. And Tele Shembe Sabla Meperson. And these are the very genuine, and these are the very essential key practice. Nyaldicho Lama Nyingwetra. And then when you're about to go to sleep, and then bring the Guru into your crown, towards your crown, Jando Chudu, some lokum pande, and try to abandon all the projectional thoughts, Mugusada Vime Moundulu, and then try to make a genuine Guru Yoga practice and devotion, some sort of recitation to the Guru prayer. Sabdo Vese Rimshin Charwaju, Sabdo Vese Rimshin Charwaju, Milam Zinju Peljung Gomdena, and if you want to do a dream yoga practice, and then try to think that everything as an illusion and during the daytime as well, so that's how you can catch the dream. Milam Zinjur Pel Jang. Zin means upholding, Juru means changing, Pel means manipulating, yeah, that's not important. And Dumban Zina Milam Jawala. Ate Wantan Semola, Milam Zime Lautulambaka, Dea, Pardo, Chopper Chevala, Milam Sugar, Tela Ninanku, Juma Milam Taba Matona, So he's saying that it is very important that you practice the dream yoga as well as the illusion practice. The illusion practice, the result of the illusion practice comes down to the dream yoga practice. The dream yoga practice, in the final conclusion of the dream yoga, is to minimize our fixation so that we can challenge the reality of the bardo over the time. Because if we don't have the dream yoga practice, then we cannot liberate ourselves in the state of the bardo. So if we don't have none of these qualities, and then one path is blocking another path. Yeah. Truban janjum chigi shiglandir. Chini chiwa meda chamnyingji. And generally, you have to think about chiwa meda chamnyingji. Think about impermanence, think about death, think about compassion. Migu kere melam julichung. Pardo laso kondrik gwetsekun. Cholam namshi miji. Saldepcha, Nyurdo Joshin Jula Kewanju, Danda Nini Chudu Matembe, Ranju Chedan Tawa Meduja, Wensa Namgar Lege Trosambu, Sanje Dana Nini Tebiche, did some Shinjapan, and did some Gajan Shenla Pembe, so he just, he don't have so much knowledge, but he just try his best to explain to benefit others as much as he can. And George Lavsum Namda Gewishi, Shimen, Shri Mana Sheje Sunku, Rana Mebin Shri Manshi, Jesung Cooking, Chede, Rana Meba Nesu Chuginshi. I don't have so much experience, but I try to repeat things like a parrot. Doesn't sound like a parrot at all. Just yeah, that's just my commentary. Tibi geze palne kamapa. Yapsin jubrachebe shabdenjing. And zetem palde kacha senjeno. Sejen doji chan drujuchi. So he offered all his dedication to his to Kamapa, and then all the regions and all the practitioners and so on. So let all the sentient beings liberate in this one singular lifetime. Sheba, Jawan Tamje Kemba, Jushibe, Shabdingi Giri Shini, Ngede, Tokshindo, Show Karma Palden, so, Hoa Namatar, Neshajin Genjo, Tatan, Zimbakama Hawaii, Danger, so Sheba around Nyedun. Nyedunba Merem Shindo, Kua or Nigatum Dijan, Dendrilla, Membe, Bayan de Juan Jurji, Sawa Takala, and Dishtu, Shi Yam Si supporter, Bavendo, Bahavendo, Tashim Parbanzam Ninjendo Show, Gyo. Yeah. So by the request of that, due to the request of the Karma Palden. So, therefore he required, based on his request, and I wrote this text. Yeah. So that's it. So I make dedication first, and then we can interact each other freely. Sonam de Tamjen Zibani, Tamnani Bendanam Pamjeni, Gagana Balam, Tobaye, Sibin Solian, Dora Show, Changes and Jordan Mage, Bonam Kijan, Gaba, Yamba Mevada, Kone Konde Belwara Show. So I have one good things to tell you. I don't know whether I told you before or not. And since we have completed this one text of creation completion, there's a lot of things in between that is, I find it unnecessary to explain or too complex to explain, so I skip a few of them. And those are more logical and more relevant to us. I try to elaborate more. So just so that you understand. So there's one thing you need to, I think I should tell you, I don't know whether I told you before or not. Right now, currently, Wanjan Rinpoche and myself, since last year, we've been working on the Shampa volume, all the Shampa volume in the, to rewrite, not rewrite, I mean, reprint again, print it again, and then also, make it into a more volume. Like an example, in the Shampa tradition, we have 11 volume, and then there's a 12th volume, which I have to receive, but, there's a one more transmission left. So there's a 12 volume in total. And then it's going to be a 13 volume, because we are going to add previous Kalurun, which is teachings of his whole life. That is not just in the book, but all the teachings that he have given in North America, in Europe. We are collecting all these teachings, and then we are going to write it down in text in Tibet, in the Eastern Tibet, in the previous Kalurun, which is monastery in Pengen Monastery. So, so we are adding that as a 13th volume altogether, so, and then it's going to be, it's going to be printed soon and publicly available, for the Tibetan readers. And my future project is that, people who want to volunteer for the translation project, and you are welcome to join. There will be lamas who will be supervising, and there will be like individual yourself, who can participate to volunteer, because the whole idea is that this Kalu Foundation in Germany that I've set it up, based on this Kalu Foundation, we are going to sponsor this project and then make it free for everybody who want to read it in their own language, whether it's in German or Italian or Portuguese or English or French, or Spanish, so that's the thing, so that it becomes available for all the people. So it's a long-term project, but but I have to start, because until now it doesn't exist. And even it does exist, it's just a little bit like only in one language at the moment, in English. So, and there's so many projects in that different organization. And I just want to prioritize that, so that people can get more access to the teachings and practice and pujas and prayers, so that's that. So you are welcome to help, to volunteers. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah. So, questions? So if you want to volunteer for the translation project, then you can, send an email to the Shambhakaji office, and then we will collect your email. So don't expect us to reach out to you, because we can't, because there's many people messaging here and there, so we can't keep the track of you. But if you email to us, to the Shambhakaji, and saying that I want to volunteer for the translation, and a little bit like a part-time project, and then it will be more easy. Okay. Okay, so Alex, when in a dream, I'm getting a bit more, what? Conscious, then I create the reality of the dream. I think, just regarding the dream yoga, just don't rush at the moment, just don't rush, just take it slow, do the ordinary practice. The dream yoga will come, but don't jump into it. Excitement is not really equal to your quality of your mind, so excitement is one thing, mysterious ideas and excitement is one thing, but the reality is different. I also had excitement, and I tried to catch my dream so many times and it didn't work. Only when I do many yoga, Niguma yoga, breathing exercise, mindfulness, awareness, when that became my daily routine, then the dream yoga became the new reality, became more like a choice rather than accident, Yeah. Okay. Okay. Where can we, Carl Richard, where can we find ingredient for making sur? So sur, when it comes to sur, there's a two different kind. Also in the chair practice, it also exists like that, and also the offering to the spirit, it can exist in two different things. But you have to always offer the peaceful way of making offering. Basically, like no meat, like a like a tamba, right? Tamba, or like a oat, like really crushed into a powder, and then you put, like you have some, like nice cloth, like good material cloth, and cut into a very small pieces. Like small pieces means like probably this much, and then you cut into a very small pieces, and then you put some sugar also. You put some grape, some sugar, some honey, and all mixed together. All mixed together, and then you keep it in the jar, like in a box of jar, where you can close it, and then like you can, like each morning or once in every few days, you can put like 1 spoon, 2 spoon, and then you put the incense. On the top of that, you put the powder, like the tampa cloth, all mixed together one, and then that becomes a soup. uh, you can I think you have to go to the Shambhakaju website. Shambhakaju website is in my Facebook page. Currently, it's in Shambhakaju website, but later on it will be Kalu Foundation, because it will be one of the projects of the Kalu Foundation. Because Kalu Foundation currently it's in the technical, process of setting up. Takes time. Okay, so there's one question. When you talk about observe and letting anger dissolve, does it mean not identify ourselves with anger? When you talked about observe and letting anger dissolve, does it mean not identify ourselves with anger? When you talk about you don't identify anything. You do not need to identify yourself with anger or yourself without anger. You just see and look at the anger. You know, like an example, if there's a river flowing, if there's a river flowing, it's a harmless sound, and yet you look at it and you have no opinion about it. Just simply look at it. You don't say the river is part of me or not part of me. So that is the meaning of observing, and not thinking that is part of me or part of me or part of me or not part of me. Rather, just simply seeing it, noticing it, and just simply maintaining that. And then that idea of that seems to be important tend to be dissolved over the time. But that takes repetitive cycle several times, at least for the beginner. You inhale the right and left channel. Do you exhale only through the central channel? No, you breathe in through your nose and you exhale through your nose. And there's no such as a right or left channel. Okay, so so this is a good question. So I will just keep it at the end. Is Shamba lineage also connected to Marpa or only to Chumpo Nanjo? So it goes like this. Marpa and Chumpo Nanjo, they have never met each other. Chumpo Nanjo lived very, very long. He lived 150 years, in his biography, but some say probably he have lived 100, years old. Some scholars, they say, yeah, probably lived long, but not like 150. But that doesn't matter. The most important is that Chumpo Nanjo spent most of his time in central Tibet. Sham, is the central Tibet, basically not far from Lhasa. And he spent a lot of time going back and forth between Nepal and India, in West Bengal also. So Chumpo Nanjo and Marpa Lotsawa, they have never met. However, Chumpo Nanjo's main student, after Chumpo Nanjo passed away, Mokchokpa and Kergangpa, they have met and interacted each other, and they gave empowerment to each other. They give teachings to each other, like Gambopa and Mokchokpa, they gave a teaching to each other, instruction to each other, became a little bit like a Dharma brother, like in an equal level of realization. And like an example, and then like the student of Kiergangpa Sanjitemba, student Sanjit Demba is a student of Kiergangpa, and like he met the third Karmapa, Sumbarangjung Dorje. So they had this kind of interaction with each other. And then after that, there was almost no connection with the Kajupa history for quite a long time, because the Shangpa lineage was independent from the beginning. Oh yeah, Mochokpa also have met the student of Rechungpa, which means the Rechungpa is one of the student of Milarepa, and the Rechungpa's student met, also became one of the good master, but also met Mochokpa when he was a teenager. So that's another encounter, just to let you know. Yeah, but then again, you know, the Shampa lineage maintained as a you know, as a, how do I say, as a separate lineage, independent lineage, and then slowly it became a Chonangpa lineage, kind of. You know, it evolved into a Chonangpa lineage. Like Taranatha became the main pillar of, and then also he became the main person who revived many, many, many teachings. You know, because you have to keep in mind that you know, when Chungpa Nanja passed away, he had a lot of students. So a lot of students also, you know, tend to develop many different lineages, not necessarily many different names, but many different lineages. And sometimes the advantage of having many different lineages is that it spreads, you know, from Nepal, Tibet, China, Mongolia. It did, you know. But the consequence of that is that there's a lot of how do I say, uh, many different type of teachings goes in a different direction, but at some time it's not, you know, doesn't become really clear, you know, in terms of text and empowerment and transmission and teachings, you know. So Taranatha, he just brought everything together, and he put everything together, making sure nothing disappears. And then that continued for several generations. And then the second Dalai, no, the second Dalai Lama, you know, was born in a Shampakaji family until he was a teenager. And then basically in the Shampakaji family, you know, he was the son in the Shampakaji family. So like in the olden tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, and you know, like many of the Buddhist Rinpoche family, they don't call themselves Rinpoche, they just call themselves a practitioner. You know, so it was maintained a little bit like the Satyapa lineage, you know, like the family maintains the retreat centers, the monasteries, and things like that. So the second Dalai Lama was born in that Shampakaji family, and he was traveling with his father, who happened to be the how to say, the Rinpoche who looks after many retreat centers around Tibet. And he showed so much great interest in Shampakaji lineage, and later on he even wrote his praise to the Niguma yoga and Niguma practice. And that's one of the reasons how the Siksa Mahakala got introduced into the Gelugpa lineage at that time. And that's why you see in China and Mongolia that you see Siksa Mahakala statue everywhere, which is the origin is coming from the Shampa lineage. Because there was, then the Gelugpa became the last dominant religious political figure, you know, and in their practice, their belief, their ideology, and became the more dominant and established one compared to the previous other different tradition. At the same time, around that time, and then the Jamyang Khyentse Trigalodu, his masters also received the Shampa empowerment teachings from the Chonang masters and so on. He gave all that transmission to the Jamgo Kongtrolo Thai about all the Shampakaji empowerment and everything. So, so the Jamgo Kongtrolo Thai, he practiced Dzogchen, Chalchen, and Niguma practice, as well as Kala Chakra as well, and Shije, of course. And then he established the Zandarin Jetao, you know, the retreat center. Yeah, and then his main student was very, you know, who happened to be the Khenchen Tashi Wezer. Khenchen Tashi Wezer became the main Shampa lineage holder after Jamgo Kongtrolo Thai. And then the previous Kala Rinpoche went to retreat, and after his retreat, he, and then he continued his, his nomad exploring, traveling, and pilgrimage, and then coming back to Palpon, and then also, spending time in the retreat center, becoming a retreat master. And he became a very good friend and a close connection with Khenchen Tashi Rezer. And then Khenchen Tashi Rezer, gave so many of object gift that belongs to the first Jamgon Wonglo Thai. And then, and then the previous Siddha Rinpoche recognized the previous Kala Rinpoche as Jamgon Wonglo Thai incarnation. And then the Tuwan Norbu Töntu is one of the great retreat master who happened to be the guru of previous Kala Rinpoche as well. So that's that. So that's how it goes down to 2021. Long story short, so yeah. So but you have to understand that, all the different lineages, if you look back, none of the lineage are independent. Everything is interrelated. So every lineage is interrelated. Nyingmapas are not really independent. They are always somehow interlinked, with the Kajupa masters, with the Sacha masters, Gelupa masters, all of them, they're interlinked. Like I said before, previous Kala Rinpoche, when he was in Dharamsala, he was personally requested by His Holiness Dalai Lama in the 1970s and 60s to give the full 6-hour Mahakala empowerment to his main monastery, the Namgyal monastery in Dharamsala. And then previous Kala Rinpoche gave all the 6-hour Mahakala empowerment. So basically, all the Gelugpa masters who have received at that time and who are currently giving any 6-hour Mahakala empowerment is linked to previous Kala Rinpoche. So you can technically say Gelugpa are linked with the Kajupa and the Shampa. So it's not really, something far, something far away, and not every lineage and not every empowerment has to be seen by us, and not always happens in the famous master giving to the famous student, that doesn't happen all the time, but the transmission, teaching, lineage continues, throughout the time, so that's that. Like an example, His Holiness Dalai Lama, he received so many teachings from the Nyingmapa masters, Kajupa masters, Sajava masters, and he makes sure that everybody sees that, because he wants to tell people that, we existed like that in the past, so yeah. But when it comes to the organization in terms of management, then of course, then everything is separate. But when it comes to empowerment, teaching, everything is interrelated, Like an example, I received the Shampakaju empowerment from my guru, Siddha Rinpoche, and he received from 16 Karmapa, and 16 Karmapa received from the previous Siddha Rinpoche, and previous Siddha Rinpoche received from the, the Jamgon Wonglo Thai, and then like the 15 Karmapa, Khajab Dorje, that time. The Khajab Dorje received from the first Jamgon Wonglo Thai. The first Jamgon Wonglo Thai go back all the way back to Khenchen Tashi Rezer, right? So technically it's a Kajupa, right? So all the empowerment is all interlinked. Like an example, and also the origin plays a different role. Like an example, if you look at the Shampakaju lineage, it's not a one lineage, it's a several lineage together. Like an example, there's a 6 yogas of Niguma, and the 5 jewels of Niguma is seen as a one lineage. And then there's 4 deities and the 6 Mahakala lineage as a one lineage. And then the 6 yogas of Sukhasiddhi as a one lineage. And the 5 deities and the Chakra Sambhara as a one lineage. So 4, and then the 4 lineage coming down to one lineage. So, so like that. So it's not like one guru giving one empowerment and managed by one. It's all interrelated. So that's something we have to keep in mind. But when it comes to practice, I think keeping in the place where we can see it, reachable capacity is more important. Learning, studying, everything is good, but when it comes to practice, keep your desire simple. Learn, study, receive empowerment, receive teachings, non-sectarian view, all is good. But when it comes to practice, keep your desire simple. Practice 1, 2, maintain that. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's the creation and completion. So, and then the other thing is that our Lamrim, session, we will continue until it's finished. The once in a month online gathering. But the creation and completion is done for this time. And I want to say thank you to Nick and to Lama Serge, to Lama Renato and Christine, Lama Bruno here, for translating and making sure that people hears in their own language. And I want to say thank you very much for your dedication. And thank you to all the lamas and all the volunteers. And yeah, and thank you to all the participants for being here and for showing your dedication. Okay, so I'm going to have a good sleep knowing that one text chapter is finished. so that at least we have only one book to follow, not 2 books to follow a month. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, lamas, our volunteers. Thank you. Have a good night.